Is it wrong to work 4 jobs in tech in the exact same time? We're talking about Soham Parekh today. Welcome back to the Programming Podcast. I'm Danny. Today, Leon and I are going to talk about this. And we're going to not only just talk about whether we believe it's right or wrong, because opinions are opinions. Let's go over the resume that ended up making this happen. Let's go over his strategy on how he was able to do this. But then let's also discuss whether this was actually morally acceptable or not, and some of the bigger things that I don't think a lot of people are even thinking about in the grand scheme of the discussions. And I think there's one big point that we're going to cover that really makes or breaks the argument for this. Thanks for being with us, and let's roll into the intro. It may be a down moment for Soham. He definitely has an opportunity to write a book.
I think this would be the biggest boom to his career that could have ever happened. You want to have 5 jobs? Have 5 jobs. If you can't uphold the agreement of the labor that they're giving you money for, that's when I have a problem with it.
I can almost guarantee you what's going to happen is he's going to move, something like that, change his location, and legally change his name to something else. And
be right back at it.
If you know that employers are asking for it, you can be bad about it or you can play the game. And he played the game. What's going on, everyone? We are back with another one. Today is going to be a spicy one. I have a feeling it's going to
I can feel it already. I can feel it in my bones.
even as we were talking, just preparing for this, we purposely did not tell each other our takes on this just to see what it will be. So as you're listening to this, you will get our reactions in real time to whatever it is that we're saying. Now, I will say, over the course of, I believe, 34, 35 episodes, we have become pretty good friends, I think. But also, I've kind of been able to tell certain ways Leon will go. I don't know on this particular one, this particular situation that we're going to be talking about today, I don't know if I have an actual accurate tell on him or not, which has me very curious. But let's get into this. Before we start going any further, I am one of your co-hosts. My name is Danny Thompson. I'm the Director of Technology at This.Labs and the organizer for the Commit Your Code conference in Dallas, Texas.
Coming up sooner than you can think, folks. Coming up. And I'm Leon Noel, Manager Director of Engineering for a wonderful nonprofit called Resilient Coders and community member at 100 Devs. All right. Took the world by storm. By storm. And so, folks, if you are listening to this, watching this episode, you are going to walk away with the secrets on how to get not only 1 job in tech, but 4 jobs in tech, maybe 5, and maybe at the same time. So this could be the best podcast episode that we've ever made. Of course, we're talking about Soham, took over the world, had every single person on Twitter talking about them, took through the entire startup community online. Were you witnessing this in real time?
I was. I will say for the listeners, as of the time of recording this, I'm interested to see what this changes. But I decided as a fun thing to put out a poll. So we're asking y'all on Twitter right now, do you believe he did something wrong? And I put the options yes, no, and a popcorn emoji because why not? And on the screen, you should be seeing up to the point of the editing what those results are. And this will be a consensus of what everyone publicly believes. Now, for those that aren't familiar with Soham Parekh, let's break it down for you. Soham went viral, as some people do, and sometimes it's for a great moment, sometimes not so great. I think while it may be a down moment for Soham, he definitely has an opportunity to write a book.
I think this would be the biggest boom to his career that could have ever happened.
I'm actually kind of nervous for him because not only has it made its way on socials, and so sometimes there's this moment where it goes viral on socials, you put your head down for a little bit and it's gone. Unfortunately for him, it's made not just the news, but international news. I've seen this report in several languages. The whole world's picked this up. Yeah. And I find it very interesting. So let's start with the hot part first. Leon,
Yeah.
Do
So
you believe he did something wrong?
oh boy. I think we should start at the beginning. Let's figure out what they did first, because people might not know yet. So July 1st, the founder of Mixpanel, right? They made a tweet and they said, PSA, there's a guy named Soham who works at 3 to 4 startups at the same time. He's been preying on YC companies and more. Beware. I fired this guy in the first week and told him to stop lying/scamming people. He hasn't stopped after a year. No more excuses. And then it took off. 22 million views on that tweet right now. And so I think there's a lot of nuance in that tweet that will decide my answer, right? So being fired in the first week is pretty hard. What did you do in that first week or didn't do that gets you fired? So I think there is a level of, in their terms, they said lying and scamming. If you're getting fired in the first week, that may be true. Not saying they did it, not saying, I don't know exactly the details of the employment there, but if you're getting fired in that first week, there's something fishy that happened. And so my worry would be that this person is getting these jobs and then like saying, I got to go on vacation, right? Like, oh, sorry, dog's sick. I'll start in a week, but still collecting that check. Or something was like grossly misrepresented to where they don't have the things that they said. And as it took over the internet, there's a lot of people saying that maybe 90% of the resume was fake, that there's all this stuff going on. So I think to get to my answer, I don't care about overemployed individuals. You want to have 5 jobs, have 5 jobs. If you lie to get those jobs, if you misrepresent your skills, if you can't uphold the agreement of the labor that they're giving you money for, that's when I have a problem with it, right? I also think on the spicier side, people don't get to own your time. If you're getting the job they're paying you to get done, who are they to tell me what I can do with my other 8 hours of the day, you know? And so that's kind of where I'm at. I'm kind of curious where you kind of lie.
So with your answer being nuanced, mine also has a little bit of nuance. Yeah. And the thing for me, more so than anything else, this last 5 days, even excluding the Soham aspect, because there's something else I want to bring up into this, is no bigger moment in life has ever proven to me what a game the interview process is.
Oh, such a game. Yeah.
It's so blatantly obvious that the only way someone could be successful at this in general is by gaming it the way that it's meant to be played. And that is the reason why he was successful. There was even a tweet that I saw where he shared what he would send to the startup founders or whoever's over HR as an email or a DM. And the fact that this worked blew my mind. Like, it's not something that I would traditionally think that works, but it's because, and someone said it in a comment, which is what clarified it for me, because I'm like, why would this work? This totally wouldn't work normally. And it was because he was supposedly going after startups that were so young in the process, such a small team, that they wouldn't have somebody with any kind of decent level of skill in hiring. So it was more of a vibes test.
Yeah.
And so a very informal email was used to kind of bridge that for him.
And we're going to look at all this stuff. We have to. Yeah. We're going to look at the emails. We're going to look at the resume. We're going to dissect how they played the game, because I think that's where a lot of value can come into this. Yeah.
Yeah. I was going to say, I was going to read it right now, the email that I saw. And some people shared it, like got an email from Soham, had back and forth. And so like people shared basically what his informal email was, and there's quite a few of them. And so I'll read it to you right now.
Yeah.
It literally says at the top, TLDR, too long didn't read for those that don't know. I love everything about what the company name in this email, it's happenstance, is doing. I don't have many hobbies outside of coding. I'm not athletic. I'm bad at singing. Don't drink. Can't dance. Building is the only thing that I'm good at. At this point, I want to be part of taking something from 0 to 1 or 1 to 100. I just want to be heads down chasing that goal. Then it says, hi, really love what you're building at Happenstance and wanted to reach out to see if there were any openings for engineers in the early team. I have 5 years of relevant experience building full stack applications, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, as part of the early teams where I help scale internal microservices to thousands of workflows and users. So I find that very interesting. For me, this would never be a message that I would recommend. There's so much that could be improved. With that being said, I am like you. Before I ever got into tech, I've always had multiple jobs. I've always worked at multiple gas stations. I've worked construction. I've done all these other fields because I had to make enough money to kind of keep going, right? Tech was the first time where I was like, wow, I'm at a point where I could just have one job and I'm okay. Like I'm breathing, I'm surviving, like bills are paid, like I feel great. If someone had the incentive to have more than one job, I don't think there's anything fundamentally wrong with that. Nope. We all chase something in our free time. Some people have hobbies where they're like, I want to go golf, and they want to spend 8 hours of their free time doing that. Some people are like, hey, I want to build a project on the side. So many people code on the side anyway, right? Like they're building projects on their own. If they're getting paid for it, what's wrong with that? One argument that I did see that was part of the what's wrong with that is a lot of employers, especially like Fortune 500, those kind of employers, if you're building something, they have it in their contracts that they own whatever it is that you build. So if you're building for another employer, this is a very big legal area for them. Like, and if these startups had that agreement, maybe he was smart enough not to approach startups that had that kind of agreement. I don't know. But this is something to consider. And that's why many of these employers in tech don't want you moonlighting, simply because they technically own that code as part of your employment agreement. Not all employers do that, but a big, strong portion of like the Fortune 500, they definitely do.
Which is why, going back to what you were saying earlier, the companies he was targeting, they probably don't have these policies in place yet or know that they should, right? And so it might have been like very targeted. And going back to the email too, as a founder, I'm responding to that email. I want to respond to it right now, right? Like, you're telling me this person, all they do is build. They have some social proof. They just want to, they sip the Kool-Aid of the startup because I know I can't pay them what I need to pay them. I need to pay them on mission, right? Rice format. I need to pay them on the ideology. And they're telling me that that's all they care about. Sold. Sign me up. They're getting a call back. Absolutely. It's a genius message. I think if you're listening to this, like, this would work. You can, and the beautiful thing is you can just go on Crunchbase. All these companies, their rounds are public, right? Look at all the companies that raised a Series A that have a team less than 10 people, right? Or even nowadays, the seed funding is so large. Like, you can go to the like, this is what he said too. The founder of Mixpanel says he was preying on YC companies because you can just go to every YC company. You know, they got some money in the bank. You know that they're hiring, and you know a lot of these things might not be true. And if you can speak to that founder energy, you're going to slide right in every single time. Why have we never thought of this? Like, this is such a good route to go. Now, they are typically looking for founding level engineers, but if the vibes are right, right? I know so many engineers that grew at startups, specifically back when I was coming up in startup scene too, where they didn't have the founding level engineering skill, but they had the dog in them and they wanted to get dirty. They wanted to go fight every day. Like, and they would just put in the 12, 14 hours a day, and founders respect that hustle. They respect that energy. So of course this is going to work. This is such a good playbook for certain people if they actually value that type of environment and want to work with those types of companies.
Yeah. I mean, the thing that gets me, and I guess kind of surmising something, so yeah, if you're overemployed, I don't really have a problem with that.
Yeah.
The problem is, I'll be honest, I've worked in multiple companies. I find it so hard to imagine someone can have quality output working for more than one. Let's say you're venturous in 2, but 4 or 5, there's no way on earth if you look at the course of a year, that you're not dropping the ball dramatically. Like, even juggling the podcast and the content and social media, I feel like I'm always behind and trying to keep up with everything going on.
Yeah.
There's like 50 different things going on. Just with this, I can't imagine 2 employers or 3 employers.
I think this is where it gets spicy, right? Because I know a lot of engineers that don't do shit. Like, legitimately
But
don't.
startup?
Not a startup.
Team,
So that's where you mess up, right? Like that's where you mess up. Because startup, that's absolutely not the truth. I could see this if you're at bigger companies, you find that right team where you got some specialized knowledge, what people think should take a week, you're able to get done in a few hours. Like, I think that's kind of like the normal recipe for the overemployed folks, is they really seek out those types of companies, which makes it very odd that he was seeking out these startups where that is not the environment, right? That's where he gets into hot water. But you can find yourself some cushy roles where you are performing at a level that's not really expected, but you're okay. All right, here's a good question. Is it okay to say something took you a week if it took you a day?
I'll be honest. For me, no.
Yeah.
And I don't know if that. Oh, your smile went away. I thought you thought I was going to go the other way.
No. I said, yeah. I think we're in the same boat. Yeah.
For me, I will say that I am not opposed to somebody like, if it takes you 4 hours and you take an extra hour for research and you give it in at 5, nothing wrong with that. But if you go from a day to 7 days, like, number one, there should be an immense amount of processes in place for that not to even be a thing, right? Yeah. I mean, I remember I was working at one company, we had juniors. And so whenever they take like an extra day on something, there's a ton of eyes. Like, why did this take 1 extra day when there should have been 4 hours? Like, it's not a bad thing. Let's figure out what it is. Like, did you not ask for help? Let's rectify this. But it starts becoming like a repetitive pattern. Alarm bells are going off all over the place. And so it's like, I think people that have been in the role for a while, you're going to start seeing certain indicators. And maybe you'll get by once, twice. But if it's a repetitive situation, people are going to notice. And so, like, that's the one thing that I often wonder about him. Number one, getting fired in a week, they must have seen the output right away. They got, like, wind that he was working somewhere else, who knows. But the thing is, how many of these companies have to be frustrated with him? And maybe he shows spurts of like crazy energy. And then it's like back to where it was again. It's like, how can you just fall off after 4 months? And then at the 5th month, you do something great. It's like, oh, you did something great. Then 4 months of absolutely nothing. No momentum, no progress, no tickets moving. Like, there has to be something that you're noticing that's not lining up.
And I think this is how some people chain it, right? Like, you can take advantage of this process if you wanted to. And again, this is all us imagining stuff. We have no idea what they were doing, how they were doing it. Like, we're not even talking about them. We're talking theoretically at the moment, right? So a lot of companies, they expect some sort of ramp up where you're onboarding, you can't hit the ground running. It's impossible for a lot of companies that have really complicated systems. It's going to take you anywhere from a month to 3 months to onboard a lot of companies. Then once you're onboarded and you kind of like know how to move around and do everything, you know the systems and processes, you kind of got like 3 months where they figure out whether or not you know what you know or not, right? So a lot of companies, you can probably go 6 months if you're showing up on time, you're giving the good effort, you're at every meeting, like you're there. And so I think that's where it also becomes a little odd, right? A little spicy too. It's like, for me, there's a lot of things I'm willing to do to put food on the table. And there's a lot of folks that come from our community that like worry about this stuff, where they're like, hey, like, should I take this role? Like, what if I'm not prepared for this role? Nah, dog, that they had all the chances in the world to figure out whether or not you were a fit. If they say yes, they said yes. As long as you didn't fabricate, you didn't lie throughout the process, that's on them if it takes them the 6 months to figure out whether or not you're a good fit. And so that's where I feel like it kind of gets to the point where it's like, hey, he made it through their interview process. At some point, they got to take some accountability on that process too, if he's being truthful or they're being truthful throughout the process, you know?
One big thing that I saw the rhetoric going around was they didn't know if he was lying on his resume. There's nothing really here that I see that's like so salacious that I think it's just terrible. It's actually very reasonable from what I see. He targeted early startups. That's the only thing that's really on his resume. And he talks about how he was a founding engineer at pretty much every single one of them, or early engineer. et cetera, et cetera. I don't really see an issue with that from what I see online. Then there's people online, especially founders, that are saying like, well, he said he did it out of necessity, but why do you have to ruin my business? La, da, da, da. Every single place he was at was a full year, at least on his resume, the 4 that he shows. I don't know about the other multiple jobs, et cetera, et cetera. And so for me, I don't know if he was doing 2-month, 3-month stints, because of course everyone gives you a ramp up time, like you said earlier, right? And at the senior level, that ramp up time is much smaller than what it would be at, like, let's say, the junior level. Yeah. And so him presenting himself as a senior for sure would be vastly different. I'll be honest. I think if I'm Soham, number one, I'm hating the world right now. Like, I'm hating my life. I'm hating my choices. But I'm upset not because I'm pretty confident this is his mindset around this. He's probably upset that he got caught more than he did the thing. But I can almost guarantee you what's going to happen is he's going to move, something like that, change his location, and legally change his name to something else. And
be right back at it.
Because how can you stop that addiction? Like, that's an addiction at that point.
Yeah. So the other interesting thing is he has to be good at interviewing, right? Like,
yes, which is my next point.
So there has to be some raw skill there. So I already saw like the Cluely team is trying to bring him in to do like some content. I think he has the chance to be like the bad boy of tech, you know, if he could play that angle, 1 or 2 good viral videos, and he'll find a company that cares about content just as much as they care about the code, you know? Yeah.
Yeah. Well, there's a couple things around the interviewing aspect. Number one, obviously by going after early stage startups, their interview process probably isn't as well-rounded as others, but they all had a technical assessment from what I've seen online, and he smoked it. And on the TBN interview or clip, one of the two that I saw, he basically said, all he did was study cover to cover, cracking the interview.
Nice.
That's it. That's all he needed to basically win every single one of these coding assessments, because every single one gave him one. And so it's like, that was it. Oh. One book. And, you know, it's funny because sometimes when we talk to people, they make, you know, learning DSA is like this big thing. And now we can all have our opinions. We like it. We dislike it. We think it's a great way to interview. We think it's terrible. Tons of opinions around it. I've never seen anyone not with an opinion on it. With that being said, if you know that employers are asking for it, you can be mad about it, or you can play the game.
Play the game. And I love that it's just the one book, because everyone worries about that so much. What course do I have to pay for? What do I have to buy? What do I have to study? Like, nah. One book you get from your library, read it cover to cover, and actually understand the concepts in it, you're probably pretty good. Then it's a numbers game, you know?
Literally. I'm sure and I'm sure, because this happens to everybody, I'm sure there were interviews he bombed dramatically. Yeah. Had to. But then you turn the flip side, and it's like, oh, these are interviews he passed. Yep. That's part of the game. It's a numbers game. So some people I see like, oh, I'm hoping on this one company. I'm like, okay, that's cool. What else are you doing? Oh, you're just waiting on them to call you? That's wild.
And then the other thing that you said in the beginning, and the thing that we've screamed in past podcast episodes, is that it's all about vibes. I wish I could take every turbo nerd that thinks they need to do 400 leak code hards and just shake them and realize, like, hey, a lot of these interviews, especially early stage companies, all vibes. That email he set the vibes immaculately, right? Like, this is a real person. They're human. They're approachable. They're likable because they're self-deprecating, but they're a builder. They got that builder's heart in them. That's all they want to do. I just got to let them run, right? Like, that sets the vibe so high. Then we take a look at this resume, and I want to take a look at the resume. And I'll read through it for folks that aren't watching on YouTube. We'll link it, but the resume named top center. It's a very standard kind of Harvard style resume. Education right off the rip is GTech, so Georgia Institute of Technology. That's a top 10 engineering school. But what people don't know is that it's an online master's as well now. And so a lot of folks do this online master's and they get a top 10 CS program on their resume, and they have that top line with deep learning, NLP, all the big keywords that are super hot right now, that if you're a recruiter looking at this, you're salivating. top 10 tech school, deep learning. Then they have the University of Mumbai, which has all of the applied math, discrete mathematics, algorithms. So I have this person that just sent me the most human email possible. They're fun, they're self-deprecating, and they have extreme competence. I just hit the jackpot, right? Like right off the rip before I look at anything else. And then you have all these other experiences. Dynamo AI, design, implemented interactive dashboard utilizing D3 and PhysX libraries, providing user comprehensive evaluating prompts for various cross metrics. I don't actually think a lot of the things that are in the bullet points are that strong. Right. I don't, like, as I'm reading through it, right? Like there's a lot of like little things that they've done, a lot of pieces here. But in terms of like hitting us with the wow stuff right away, it's not there. It's just that they've been a founding engineer before. They've been a senior full stack engineer, senior software engineer. And it has like this believability. And the thing you always tell me like is the proof, right? The proof is there. There's this person I already like that has the proof of a top 10 tech school, the proof of these like really hard courses that's like a core memory, right? And then proof that they've worked as an engineer. Done. You're coming in for an interview.
There's a lot I want to elaborate on that. I'm not going to, because I want to kind of bring up one thing.
Yeah.
Over the weekend, actually take that back. It wasn't the weekend. It was Monday. Monday, I took my son to tutoring. He's in like advanced math and he's trying to keep up with it and yada, yada, yada. So, but he goes to like tutoring, twice a week and all that good stuff. And as I'm sitting outside in the car, because, I like to be a very active father. I like to be there, I never had one growing up. So like, this is my way to kind of do that twice a week, among other things. But like, this is a big one for me. Like I always try to, no matter what I do, but I'm sitting there and I'm watching this video and it's the CEO of like a company. And he's kind of going like, I guess he started like, in a sense, kind of like creating a video essay / blogging his daily life as a CEO. And his company's making some pretty good money. It's like, it's not a small company by any means. It's like they're generating revenue. And he's talking to like one of his C-suite execs. And like they're going through like their, daily tasks, motions, stuff like that. But he kind of throughout the whole video talked about, what it takes to be hired, hiring, et cetera, et cetera. Now, I don't think this was his intention. Mm-hmm. But it was a very long, convoluted conversation, like a lot of nuances here and there. And most people probably didn't even pick up on this. But I picked up on it almost instantly when it happened. I didn't see a single comment pointing at this, except like for me, it pinpointed right away. He was talking to the C-suite individual and said, we have a talent shortage. Like, we're trying to hire. And they just talked about how they hired someone and what they did to stand out. And the way that this person stood out was they created like a video and sent them the video.
The CEO podcast, the behind the most recent episode.
Yes, I was leading up to that. And he talked about how, I forget what the name of the random position was, but regardless,
head
this
of
individual
and health.
Yeah, that's whatever. All right. But like head of happiness and health, but the head of happiness and health recorded a video and sent it to high-level people, not the owners, but people that would be under that, so that way they could recommend them in. And I was like, oh, that's interesting. But then, as he's venting to the C-suite individual, he says, we have like 50,000 resumes. Actually, it was 60,000 total applicants. Mm-hmm. What are we doing for this other position that we're trying to hire for right now? Like, we need somebody. And she goes on like all this list of reasons why, like, oh, so far people haven't panned out, la da 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 da. And in short-sightedness, he said in the conversation, oh, did you check with the person that XYZ recommended? Because they have such a good track record at recommending people that pan out. And it was just normal conversation. Nobody picked up on it for whatever reason. And to me, I'm like, that's the thing people should be realizing, that one referral beat out 60,000 applicants. One referral? 60,000 people that were above and beyond and they did whatever they could to apply for this role are beaten out because someone recommended them? And y'all are over here thinking about like some of the most wildest things. Like, you think the most active GitHub in the world is going to be the reason why you get a phone call? 90% of the people that are looking at these resumes don't even know what a GitHub is.
Just one more leak code, brother. Just one more leak code, and they got it. That's all they need to do.
And it's like, I felt like we've been talking about it forever.
Yeah.
I know, pre-pandemic, post-pandemic, I've been talking about this forever. Like, it's always been my strategy. Work on yourself, work on the code, because the technical ability matters. But if you get that referral in, you have to have the skill to back it up, obviously. So you need to work on that. But if you're not out here talking to folks, one great relationship beats out 60,000 people. Let me break it down. That's 6 groups of 10,000 people.
And they showed the email too. He showed the inbox. Right, yeah, it's real. Like they literally showed it. Yeah. And
let me break that one more further. That is 1,000 groups of 60 people that he or she, because they never said the person, beat because someone referred them.
Mm-hmm.
What greater likelihood do you have to make something happen in a programming capacity for a software development role or something of the likes?
It's funny that I love that we watch the same content, totally independent of each other. They also had something really, really important that I think for folks to understand. They had this little like diagram, and I only remember the one axis, but it was this idea of, if you're going to try and reach out to people, what are the avenues that are low noise, low noise, high signal, right? So if you're just sending somebody a LinkedIn message, if you're sending a LinkedIn message to Danny, that's so much noise. Right. There are 4,000 messages on LinkedIn a week. Right. Like it's so much noise to them. And also probably low signal because you didn't really do anything to send that LinkedIn message. So what this person did that got hired is they created a video where they recorded themselves saying why they're a good fit for the role. Right. And so that's a high signal endeavor because you have to take time. You have to make a video. Like, you still have to like craft it. Most people don't look good on video. So you have to find the right lighting, the right background. You have to make sure your argument is coherent. You probably have to re-record it a couple times if you're not used to being on camera, right? So like, that's a lot of stuff you had to do to make that video. That's a bigger lift than a few words on a LinkedIn message. So high signal. And then they got through the noise by saying, I want to get to the CEO. Who does the CEO care about? Right? There are lots of ways to get to that CEO that are low noise. So one of the ones we were talking about at 100 Devs Huddle today was sending a handwritten note, right? That is a very low noise pathway because most people still check their mail. They probably throw out all the crap, but if they have a handwritten note from somebody in the mail, they're probably going to read it, and there's not really that much competition. Right? Don't find people's addresses and send them mail. But I'm saying, like, as an idea, right? Like it's low noise, right? So what she said is, all right, I want to get to the CEO. Who does the CEO value? Who do they care about? Who has a less noisy inbox? So then she went to like that executive suite that was close with the CEO, but aren't the host of a famous podcast, right? And so then she was able to get in touch with them, get the video in their hands, and then they were able to get it to him, right? So you got to think about, what are these pathways in, right? Like, what is your low noise, high signal pathway that's going to get you in front of these people? Because if you can figure it out, you've learned how to play the game, and the world as we saw is yours.
It's very obvious that we would watch the same content. But I will say that, like, he's like, I saw something. He's the 9th highest paid influencer or something like that outside of his businesses and all that. 9th highest. So it makes sense that he kind of digs down deep on his content, which is great. This is not an ad for the guy, by the way. But also, with that being said, this is also nothing against what he said, because the reality is he said it without realizing. It's not a negative, because this is how every single company operates. Why do you think companies offer so much for employee referrals? Yep. I worked at a company that offered $5,000 for an employee referral.
Yep.
Of course, I wanted to refer somebody in that I knew would land it. Like, you only got the money if they got the job, and they kept it for 90 days or something like that. I think it was 90 days. But I think the bigger thing here is like it's proof. Companies truly believe that, hey, we hired this person. We like their attitude. We like their mindset. We like everything about them. So if they think that there's somebody that's great, they're probably thinking like this person's going to be on my team. They're only going to refer someone that they know they're going to like working with. And so that's the reason why the industry operates that way. Now, what's funny is I made this whole little rant into a video and I put it on social media. As one does. You sit in the car, you record. Oh, y'all don't? My bad.
Now I know why those videos were you in the car.
I mean, yeah.
Oh, they were good. They look great. Now I know the lore.
Well, you know what it is? Is like I started noticing as like I'm watching some Instagram video or TikTok video. A lot of them are doing it in their car, and like I never realized what the setting was. I was just listening to somebody share an idea, and so that kind of hit me. Like I often would meditate in my car or something like that. I'm big on meditating. I don't know if I've ever disclosed that, but I'm very, very big on reflection and meditating, especially meditating like multiple times a day, every day. Like at least 10 minutes here, 10 minutes there. I want to reflect and kind of channel myself in. It's good. I'm a big fan of it. I think that also probably helps with something mental. I don't know. I'm not a doctor, but there's something there probably.
Hey, I'm back.
Pausing for a moment, editor.
Okay.
Okay.
All right, I'm back. Hey, 10 minutes a day, at minimum.
Yeah, I'm just going for you straight up for a second. Okay, cool. Editor, we're back. Yeah, so I reflect like 10 minutes a day. I feel like it does something mentally. I don't know. But regardless, as I recorded that video and shared it, several people DM me, comments, etc. I'll be honest, it's really hard for me to check my DMs. I will say, as of now, I've been trying to make a conscious effort to check them more. And I will say, I think I've been succeeding, but there's just so many that it's really hard to kind of go through. But I have been replying way more than I ever have in the past. I'm very happy about that. I feel like it's a win. I will say, I feel like certain tools that I've kind of added into my but daily life has allowed that to happen, because usually after work, I would go through my personal emails. I have multiple email accounts because I kind of section things off. And there have been tools that I've added, which we discussed in the previous episode. I'm not going to say here. If you didn't listen to that, go check it out. But the previous episode, and it's let me start having more time to kind of start responding to those comments. And several comments in particular, like I've been trying to network. I've been doing everything that I can. Or I sent you a message, you never replied, la da da da. And it's like the messages that y'all are sending are not what you should be sending. Yeah. And like, for example, one message, and this is one I even had to share with my cohort yesterday, like, this is what we're not going to do, right? And this message literally was, because I knew it when he responded, and I asked him, like, can you give me an example of how you network, right? And this is not to antagonize him, because it's not really his fault. This is what people think they're supposed to do. And he put screenshots of the way that he networks. And it said, good morning, XYZ. Been quite following you for some time now, and I'm amazed at your works. I'm a full stack developer, and I'm open for referral and freelance. Here's a link to my portfolio. Second DM. Hey, Taylor, I actually came across your post about Upwork and would really appreciate if you could share some insights on how you get your gigs and probably invites. And he's like, yeah, hey there. I have free tips on my page, but you can also buy various products that will teach you how to do this, right? Again, people, when they think of networking, this is what they think it is. We've already done a full episode on the art of DM in detail. And so that's exactly what I linked to him. Hey, I really feel like you need to watch
this.
But for those that you haven't checked out that episode yet, please do, because it's going to transform the way that you network, because this is just wrong. But when I think of an average person thinking of networking, that is what I think of, because that is exactly what I thought I had to do when I was networking in the beginning as well. And I was basically acting like an insurance salesman trying to sell people on who I was. But you don't really know any better, especially if you don't come from a business world. And so I guess maybe to give an idea, since it's on the theme of the networking, like what would you advise in this scenario to, we'll call him ABC. What would you advise to ABC on like what they should be doing instead, especially if they're trying to go the route of not getting 4 jobs, but maybe getting 1?
Yeah. I think look to Soham. Let Soham be your guide, right? That authenticity that they sent in that original email, I think is kind of hard to for everyone to digest, but if you can, you're in a really good spot. The messages that you mentioned are too on the nose. When I get those kind of messages, the alarms kind of go up right away. I know this is going to be transactional. I know that you really don't care about me. You're trying to use me as like an ends to a means, right? Like you can smell that a mile away, especially the second one, right? And so don't do that, right? Lead with some sort of value. Lead with some sort of connection, realness. Don't do greetings and salutations, good sir. Don't say the normal, like, just quick messages that you would send to your friend. If you wouldn't send it to your friend, don't send it to like a normal person you're trying to network with. Now, I don't mean don't be unprofessional, right? Like, don't start busting mama jokes right out the gate, but like, be real. I don't really respond well to the dear sir, good morning, like, because it just seems like a sales email. I literally ignore them because my brain is attuned to that being someone trying to sell me something, right? But if you saw the things that I've actually posted, right? If you can speak to something I care about, right? There's the Rice formula where it's like rewards, ideology, right? Ego, right? If you can hit on one of those 4 things in the message, you're going to do significantly better and get way better responses. And so what do I mean by that? I don't tweet super often, but when I do, it's either about like Danny, it's about like learning, or it's about Pokemon. Your messages to me should be about Pokemon. Like that's just what it should be, right? Hey, the rotation. Hey, I like a message that I have to respond to that I got recently was, hey, I was a competitive player. Here's my like link to my competitive account, and then a question. I'm hooked. I'm in. All right, let's chat. Like it's something I care about. You did at least enough research to figure out something that I actually care about, and so you're way more likely to get a response. People just kind of jump to blasting the messages, don't actually ever care about the person. Like if you're going through all of this, it's not about the job. And I know it's the hardest thing to ever tell people that need a job, that it's not about the job, but it's about your entire career. It's about your life. It's about all the friends you make along the way. And that one message could turn into a really wonderful relationship, but you're so worried about the what I can get right now that it never gets off the ground. So if you can just take that off the table. I know it's a hard ask when you need the job, you need money coming in, but if you can actually see the person as a human, be interested in them as a human, talk in the language that they care about, the whole world changes for you.
I'm very similar. Definitely not about the Pokemon. I'll be honest, I don't know too much about it. I know when there were 150, I was
You're
part
good.
of it.
You're,
right?
Okay, you're down.
After that, it's like, you know what? I barely know the periodic table. I'm not going to know all these Pokemon and then some. So that's where I kind of jumped ship. With that being said, there are things that I agree with. Like you want to come across as authentic as possible, but you need to also play the game in a certain way, right? And so I will say, for me, just being honest about it, I'm very, very big on authenticity. I try to wear my heart on my sleeve. It's just who I am as a person. I don't really like portraying something that just doesn't exist. Now, I will say that the Danny that you see now is significantly better than the Danny that you saw earlier in life, right? Like, I think as we grow, we mature, we learn, we kind of expose ourselves to new opportunities and new ways of thinking, and you just kind of just grow as a human being, right? And so I don't think that there's anything wrong with that for an individual. And if you find yourself being that way, that's fine. I think who I am as a person's made that the reason why maybe people come to me for advice. They feel safe around that, which I really, really, really cherish that situation, but the number of people that have jumped on calls with me and we start talking and they just like literally break down in tears.
Yeah.
It's mind blowing. Like, I used to keep track and now it's just too many that I don't. But it's funny because I don't think I do anything special to make that happen. I think it's just literally treating people like humans. And because it's so foreign in today's age that they don't know what to do with that. And I remember I was talking to someone who he works at a very, very large organization. An organization, I won't say the name because it may identify this individual because of that. But I will say it's a product or tool or app or website that is a household name brand and people touch it on a day-to-day basis. And they hold a very, very high position within the org, like they're very notable within the industry, within their industry. And within 10 minutes, just from like asking normal questions, literally broke down in tears and he was staring at the camera like, why am I crying right now? Like, what is happening? And I was like, hey, brother, like, it's just us. Like, this is not being recorded. I'm not clipping this. Like, no one on social media is going to see a video of you crying. It's just two humans having a conversation. So whatever you want to feel, man. You know, let's talk through what's going on. And I think that just changes things for people. And so I say that to say that just being a real person created a relationship with this individual that we're not going to forget. There's someone on social media that was going through a hard time, and I saw they were going through a really hard time. Like, they were venting hard. And I just slid in their DM saying, hey, does this time work for you tomorrow? They say, what are you talking about? I was like, we need to jump on a call. Like, let's just jump on a call and talk through what you're going through. We jump on a call, and this individual just starts breaking down. Like, why are you so easy to talk to? I was like, I just genuinely care, and I don't have anything vested in this. And that was the last time that we spoke. I have a feeling if I reach out to this person, 100% we're easily going to be talking again. But they'll never forget me for that. And I think that's awesome to a certain degree. But I think the bigger thing is they worked through whatever they needed to work through and kind of figured out what they needed to figure out. And sometimes you just need somebody to listen to that. And from an employment standpoint, this is why I've said for years, the biggest cheat code in life is asking really good questions.
Mm.
And when people think of that, they think of, so what do you do in your free time? That's a terrible question.
Yeah.
Like, why would you ever ask that? And matter of fact, I'll even pull this up. We just started, as of the time of recording this yesterday, the next session of the cohorts. And this time in particular, we've never done it before, but we have our cohort leads receive training on actually how to lead a team. Normally, part of the cohort experience was letting them figure it out, right?
Yeah.
They figure out how to lead a team, et cetera, et cetera. The last cohort kind of showed us we should really guide them. And so I shared some things where it was like, because they were complaining about they have some new members. Some of them are very quiet. They're not speaking in the meetings. They're not talking. I was like, in order to get somebody to talk, especially in like a cohort environment, education environment, or project environment, my belief is the earlier that you contribute to the conversation, the earlier you engage with more intent. But I said, if someone is resistant to engaging, it's your job to make it as easy as humanly possible for them to engage because they're nervous, they're afraid. There's things that you should be considering. And so I shared several things, tactics that I've used in the past to kind of help with this, right? And so one thing that I've often done is I'll say, hey, everyone, here's an idea that I'm working on. I need you to give me the worst possible implementation of this. What should we not do here? And so people are having a good time. They're explaining, la, da, da, da. But another one that I'll do is I'll present the idea and I'll say, can you tell me why this is going to fail? Because right now my mind only thinks that I'm going to succeed with this. And I need a very real reality check. And I think you're the person that can do that for me. Can you do that for me? Almost every single time I get a valuable response back, a thoughtful response.
Yeah.
The other thing is, and I've often done this, I'm again, personality is playing to this. But if I say something to like a video call and no one responds, the first response that I've always had is, I don't need everybody to rush to unmute themselves right now. Like, whoa, the sound is overbearing.
Deafening.
Please calm down. Please calm down. Which will often get them like a chuckle and laugh and la da da da. But the last one that is like one of the best ones that I've ever done, and I do this often, is let's say I have a group of 5 people. and I've explained an idea that we need to work on. And I will say, for this, we need to make user flows and stories for this, but we need to do it from an aspect of a persona. I want each member to be a different persona and think of how they will use this. So, person A, I want you to be a teenager. Person B, I want you to be a 60-year-old. Person C, I want you to be a mother. Person D, I want you to be a father. Person E, I want you to be an executive. Take 5 minutes to start thinking what this persona would expect from this. Also, can you determine if this persona is someone we should be targeting? Also, from your limited 5-minute experience, can you determine whether we should be seeing a distinction between a mother and a father or a parent and an executive? This gets everybody collaborating, right? Because you're each a different persona. The person who's pretending to be a teenager can't pretend to be the 70-year-old. That's your job. Yeah. So it's often been a really good tactic. And of course, the ease to engage is as low as humanly possible because you're given a very specific task, you give a very specific response. What I've often found is when networking, the biggest mistake people do, especially like networking with the goal of trying to get an employer, I just realized I've talked for a lot. My bad.
You're good.
But when you're networking with the goal of getting a job, getting an opportunity, or getting in front of an employer, asking questions that make them carry the conversation are terrible. And this is where a lot of people fail. If I would be like, so what are you up to, man? What are you doing? What do you do for fun? Who's ever asked that question? I know I have. Yeah. What answers have you gotten back? Terrible ones. Yeah. Why would I ask them what do they do for fun? There's a million things that I'm sure they would do if it's a fun thing. If you told them about some random barbecue fest going on in their city, you don't think they're going to go check that out? That's fun. Oh, if you told them we got free tickets to go bowling for 4 hours with friends, drinks, food, great music, you think they're going to be like, oh no, that's terrible. Like, no, the incentive for fun comes with the scenario, everything involved, just not just the activity. But if I were to tell somebody, what is the worst experience that you've had that is like a great drinking story? People are like, oh. And that's what it comes out. Like, why would you ask me that? Like, let me think about that. Actually, I do have one.
Okay. So our audience isn't you.
Correct.
Has this always been in there, or do you do stuff to learn about this or to get better at this? Is it just trial and error? Like, how did you get to the point where, because this is true, like everyone that I know that's interacted with you has these same feelings, like actually interacted with you, right? Because like there's what you think you know about somebody because you just see them posting online, but then like the people that have actually like met you in person, talked to you, they would all hold you in the highest regard possible because you're very present, you take care of people, like you do all these little things and you don't ever really talk about it either, and just because it's on topic, so you are, right? But like, was that always in there, or how did you get there?
I will say that if you ever saw my first tech talk, it was a nightmare, like literal nightmare, like a literal nightmare. I was terrible. I was sweating. I dropped the mic. It was just a bad situation.
Same.
First several times that I networked, terrible. I will say, like when I started at the gas station, I was terrified of even like doing anything outside of just the transaction. Do you need a bag? Here's your change. When it came to like talking to them casually, completely threw me off because again, you know, I kind of grew up in New York. You don't really have people like approaching you in a store conversationally. In the South, Southern hospitality is definitely a thing. And people want to have conversations, get to know you, show you like a really great experience. I remember my first day in Memphis, Tennessee. I was standing in a convenience store and someone was like, asking me like, hey, how you doing? And I was like, about to rob me? Like, we about to fight in the store? Like,
fuck yourself.
Like, normally, that, like, especially growing up where I grew up, is like, if someone's talking to you and stopping you, it's like, something's about to go down. And so, it threw me for a loop when that happened, not gonna lie. And you just come to learn, like, this is something that happens here, right? And so, I've grown to love it. I definitely love the Southern hospitality so much so that when I go to a city up north, like, it's very easy to notice the big distinctions that people constantly talk about. With that being said, key networking and developing these relationships and being able to talk to people, this is something that I've been actively learning for years. And still now, I don't feel like I know it all. Like, I will say that there's a big portion of my network now that I network with at the executive level. And because of that, the way I network with them is very different than the way that I would network with somebody who, let's say, is a junior dev or maybe even a senior dev. Like totally different ways to talk to people now. But when you're trying to break into tech as your first job, or maybe you're a mid-level dev trying to go senior, or maybe you're a senior dev that's trying to go to a tech lead, anytime you look up, it's scary. When you look level, it's normal. When you look down, that's easy. It's a walk in the park. Like if you were to talk to somebody as someone who is about to get their first job in tech and they just learned what a div was, you can easily navigate that conversation. There's no tension there. But when you're starting to talk to somebody who's significantly more technical, you start overthinking your words. You overthink, oh, if I say it like this, are they going to judge me incorrectly?
Yeah. There
are things that I've learned throughout the years that have kind of maybe we need to do a whole episode on this now. Think about it.
It'd be fun, yeah.
Y'all, let us know in the comments. We check out the comments. Let us know in the comments. Tweet at us. Email us. Danny and Leon's podcast at gmail.com. Maybe we should do an entire episode on how to navigate these conversations outside of just a cold DM. That one might be useful for a lot of people. Because it's even different scenarios. Like, how would you network or even talk to somebody in an office versus at a meetup and things like that? Just certain things to pay attention to. Yeah, I think that would be a good episode. Let's do that. If people want it, at least. If they don't want it, we can stick to the tech topics. But if they do want a soft skill one, let's definitely give the people what they want. All right, y'all. It's time for everybody's favorite part of the podcast, including mine. Ask Danny and Leon a question. Leon, who do we got today?
So we have a question I think is pretty topical. It's something that's come up in similar veins before, but since we're talking about Soham and everything that went down, I think it's really important to talk about today. And the question is, how do I toe the line between representing myself in the best possible light and lying? And I guess this is in terms of the interview process. And I think this probably comes from a lot of folks have this deep, and just from folks that we coach through, right? This deep-seated avoidance of talking about themselves positively. And when you're going through the interview process, there's no room for that. You have to talk your talk. You have to be able to present the things that you've done, your accomplishments, because if you won't, nobody else will. And it seems like that line is difficult for some folks. They feel like maybe they're embellishing. Maybe lying is not the right word there. Maybe they feel like they're embellishing. They're not being maybe 100% truthful. I don't know where they're getting to that line, but I think that's a fear that a lot of folks have. So kind of curious your take on that as well.
So what was the first line of the question? Because I had a notification coming through my earphone.
What is the line between representing yourself, so in the best light possible?
Yeah, I would say this is an interesting one. I often get the big pullback because they feel like they're humble bragging. And the internet has demeaned this behavior, right? Oh, you're humble bragging. Why would you humble brag? To be honest with you, that is the time where you're supposed to do it. Mm-hmm. Same thing that I would say, and I hate using this as an example, but I feel like it makes the most sense. When I met my wife in the beginning, you don't think that there were moments where I was humble bragging, hey, I could be a great partner. Hey, I've got my stuff together. Hey, I'm mature. Hey, I pay my bills on time. You would kind of allude to that. Why do you think we dress up? In a certain sense, we're exuding that we are established, we're mature, we're settled, et cetera, et cetera. So part of that is when you go to interview and you're wearing a suit, people are oh, this person's kind of put together. There's something. You can never get back the first impression. Yeah. And so I always say you can overdress, but you can never underdress, because overdress is this guy's overdressing. Underdressing is whoa, they really didn't show up. And so I've often said that for the interview process, that's something I always dress in a suit from junior level and above. Everyone may have a different opinion on that one, but that was one lesson that I always learned. And it could also be my inner imposter syndrome, because God knows I sabotaged my own entry into tech for such a long period of time that that was my way to combat that maybe. But regardless, I would say you should think about one big thing. The interview process as a whole is a fact-finding mission. That's it. They do not hire a private investigator because you applied to a role. Because you filled out a job application and you filled out a resume, and on that resume you had a LinkedIn and a GitHub. That's all they know about you.
Yep.
And so if you don't over-deliver on that information earlier on, it's impossible that they will find out enough about you. Like, I know that you're an amazing individual. You know that you're an amazing individual, but you now have this very incredible task to convince somebody within 45 minutes that you are incredible and you know what's required for this role and you will excel within this company. That's a crazy, immense level of difficulty for anyone to kind of solve or beat without using things to turn that situation into their advantage. So what do I always do? I try really hard within the first 3 minutes to give them as much info as humanly possible, because I truly believe, honestly, I believe the first 45 seconds can dictate the next 45 minutes. But if you got 3 minutes, you're dictating that hour, right? And so if you're using that 3 minute properly, they're going to be asking you follow-ups like, oh, this is interesting. What did you do here? Oh, that's interesting. What did you do there? Because they need to know more to make a determination. And so I wouldn't feel bad about humble bragging, because no other time in life is it more deserved than that moment right there.
Yep.
Please do it. Please make their job easier to find stuff out about you, because if they have to keep peeling back layers, there's a point where there's just going to be fatigue, and there's going to be someone who isn't making them jump through hoops for information, and that's going to be the person that gets the job.
Exactly. No time for humbleness on the hunt, folks. Seize the day.
Simple as that. And to be honest, most of the people that complain about humble bragging are people that humble brag anyway without even realizing it.
Yeah.
I won't say all, but definitely a lot of them for sure. All right, y'all. It's been real. It's been fun. We'll see you on the next one. Goodbye, everybody.
Peace.